I actually found this blue ocean in Europe, right? Because I was the first one who promoted the nail wraps as a product that replaces the nail polish.
One thing that I keep thinking about as you're telling us the story, how did you have the confidence that this would make you a millionaire?
I didn't pay myself a salary until 2018. So for the first 4 years, I didn't get any money out of the company. And
did you ever have this feeling of like losing hope that it's not going to work out?
It was always the returning customers and the current feedback of the customers that kept me going really throughout the whole time.
Hi there, and welcome back to the EGN Podcast, where we cover e-commerce inspiration, insights, and trends. I'm your host, Eve von Thenen. Join me today as I get to know Sophie Kühn, the founder of the successful German beauty brand, Miss Sophie. Sophie will show us how running a business goes beyond just looking at classical KPIs. It is about the heart, resilience, and everything else that comes along the way when turning a dream into reality. Starting her business in a tiny apartment, Sophie went all in for her vision and had absolutely no guarantee of success. Fast forward to a decade later, Sophie now runs a powerhouse brand with 8-figure sales and almost 1 million loyal customers. Let's take a sneak peek behind the curtain, hear the grind, the determination, and the passion it took to build something from nothing. The moments that made her question everything, the decisions that changed and stepped up her game, and the lessons that shaped her into the entrepreneur she is today. Let's go. Hi, Sophie.
Hello.
Welcome to our new studio. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, it's fantastic having you here. I feel very, very lucky to have you sitting in front of me because you have a wealth of information, insights that you will share with us today. And I think this is going to be hopefully one of my favorite podcast episodes. And yeah, so standard is very high.
Yes, no pressure.
No pressure. So let's get started and let's get to know you first. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Sophie and I'm 34 years old. I come from Berlin and I'm the founder of Miss Sophie. I started the brand 10 years ago and we are an e-commerce startup for innovative nail foils. And yeah, so I bootstrapped the company, had a long journey and sold the company 2 years ago. And that's basically where we're at right now.
Yeah, so let's go back in history and go back to Sophie maybe 10 years ago?
Yes, 10 years ago.
So how did Sophie have this idea to produce an innovative nail foil product?
Exactly. Yeah, nail wrap.
Nail wrap.
Nail wrap. Yeah. So I was actually at the end of my studies. I was doing my master degree in Berlin at Humboldt University. And
what were you studying back then?
I was studying business administration,
okay.
BWL.
Yeah.
So, like the very good classic study to get you started. And then I went on my semester abroad in southern France. And there I had the idea because we went to the beach very often after university. And I noticed that almost every nail polish chips off very fast off your fingertips. So you probably haven't had this problem.
I haven't had that problem.
Because you're a man, but most of the women really know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And, it's very frustrating because you want to have good nails that are part of your outfit and you really want to feel complete with them, but you don't want to spend so much time on having to make them look nice. Yeah. And then the second thing is you never know how long they're going to last, right? So I thought it's super inefficient for every woman, for any woman of any kind to have this basically insecurity because you never know how long her nail is going to last. And I mean, it sounds crazy when I'm like describing the problem, but it is a problem. And so I thought, okay, there has to be a solution. And I was doing lots of research and I found similar products like the nail wraps, but they had different techniques. You had to blow dry them. So you had to heat them to activate the glue. Actually, it gets very techy here, but
I like
yeah,
it.
so you can probably understand the idea. So I really like the product that was already out there in the American market, but I thought, okay, this is way too complicated for the German market because, the German customers, they're a lot more conservative, they're a lot more careful, skeptical when it comes to beauty. So it has to be as easy as possible. And I thought, okay, what if we could get this product just self-adhesive? So to make the product as easy as possible and to have it as convenient as possible for the customer in the end. And so I flew to Hong Kong. I went to the world's biggest beauty fair, the Cosmoprof. I was looking for...
You're still a student.
I was still a student, yeah, 24. I was looking for, suppliers and speaking to them, talking about the products, found some good ones and developed the product over and over again until we had the final result. So this process took about 9 to 12 months or so. And then we had the final product and I was like, okay, I'm happy now with this product. We can launch. And yeah, that was basically the story of developing the product.
This is incredible. I mean, one thing that I keep thinking about as you're telling us the story, how did you have the confidence that this would make you a millionaire?
I didn't.
I mean, how did it feel? Did you think, okay, I'm just gonna try this out and see what happens?
Exactly. That's how it went. I really wasn't focused on the money at all, and I think that is so important for every founder because I was just so passionate about solving this problem and actually helping women out there by making their beauty routine easier. And so that was my biggest motivation behind all of it. And of course, I mean, it's great, becoming a millionaire, of course. But it was never my main goal. And so I think that really helped, just being a successful entrepreneur and building a sustainable brand along the way.
Yeah. And then I found it interesting that you pretty much very fast had the idea to travel to Hong Kong, do some research. And so you really had this entrepreneurial nerves or the drive.
Exactly. Yeah. So it helped a lot that I was from Berlin because many of my friends had their own companies and it was almost a trend. Everyone had their startup, most of them failed, but it was totally fine. And it was just so cool because basically you had nothing to lose, right? Yeah. At your early 20s, you're still in your student lifestyle, you don't have high fixed costs and it just makes so much sense to try it out and learn as much as you can along the way. And even if you fail, it's fine because you gain all the experience and you learn so many things. So,
but did you? Which steps did you follow? Okay, you had some sort of an idea about what kind of product you're gonna create, and then you said, okay, I need did you start with a Einzelunternehmen, I don't know, directly with a GmbH or which steps did you follow along the way?
I started with the smaller one, with a UG, Unternehmergesellschaft, because for this one you didn't have to have that much capital, which
you need €1
didn't have.
Theoretically.
Exactly. So, I mean, I saved a lot of money during my studies. I was working as a working student in the Erdgas industry, natural gas. And so I was saving up all the money, during the semester breaks, and I was working as much as I can to put it aside. And then I had a good amount. It was €20,000 for the whole company to start with. Yeah. And so that was actually enough. It was good, yeah.
Yeah, so you started with an UG, and typically 25% of the profit you make goes into the future GmbH.
Exactly. So yeah. And that was totally cool. It worked very smooth and was no problem.
And then then how did you start the e-commerce part? Okay, you're working on the product, but e-commerce is very multifaceted. So you have to have a product, you have to have a range of products, so to speak. You have to define your target group, you have to have a website, you have to have marketing and sales channels. So can you walk us through this journey, especially in the early steps, how you built all of this? Yes. I think you were on Shopify, or
we are on Shopify right now. Yeah, we started with a German version, JTL. Yeah. So I mean, this was 2014, right? So it's it's the Stone Age from e-commerce era in Germany. It was a total different time, right? And it's hard to compare it to these days, like nowadays. But, you know, of course, yeah, I did like everything we had to do to set up the brand. Like we registered the brand, we registered the domain. That was also new to me, right? I've never done it before. I was working in the like natural gas sector, so never like in e-commerce or anything with online marketing. But I basically just taught myself most of the things. And I had a really good friend of mine from university who is still now our CTO. And he was the one who told me, you know, if you ever need help, like with the logo design or with the website building, just hit me up. And so it was actually him, like from the early days, who helped me so much with the technical stuff and building the website, you know, getting the logo design and getting the product design. And so we, during I developed the product, we, built the site basically, which was super simple back then. And then step by step, you know,
you built the site, but how many SKUs did you have at the beginning?
38.
38.
Okay. Yeah, because you have to have somewhat of a variety for like colors and designs, and so you can start just like with one. So you need some variety, but it was very good for the start, right? And so when we did that, I thought, okay, how do we get the product out there, right? How do you get the brand popular with no budget, basically? So what we did was we went on Instagram, and back then also, it's so funny because the algorithm was working totally different. So when people had 20,000 followers and they posted something, all these 20,000 people saw the post.
Saw the content.
It's crazy.
It's
the reach was not exactly. And so even back then, there were so many nail influencers, but it was, I always say, like influencer marketing 1.0 because it was so crucial, and people were just not so used to all the influencer marketing in Germany at all because it was so new. So we basically like jumped onto this idea. It was so cool. And I contacted the influencers. I talked to them on the phone. They were so friendly. They were so excited about this new brand coming up, about our products. They loved us. So we just sent them the products, no budgets, nothing like that. They were so happy to be just this ambassador of a cool new brand, you know, and trying out the new products. And so that's how we basically took off after the first years.
2014 was also a complete different time for startups. Like you mentioned, many startups fail.
Exactly.
I don't know the statistics, like over 85% of the startups fail one way or the other.
Right.
It's hard to have something that sticks. You might have like short-lasting success, but then again, you've made it. But then I find it very interesting that even user-generated content was quite new. Like these platforms, Instagram, and those are like the early stage where you're really building this community, especially user-generated content, like influencers building their community and promoting products. And it's interesting that you said they're supportive of you, although they could have asked for money and additional stuff.
Exactly. But the market was so, I don't want to say underdeveloped, but you know, it just wasn't there. The influencer marketing, where it just wasn't working. And so, they were so happy. It was working super well for us.
So at first it was mostly Instagram as the marketing channel, you would say?
Exactly. I would say it was Instagram, and then we had a lot of like word of mouth, you know, which is the most valuable kind of marketing that you can have, because when the people were wearing the products, you know, they were talking to their families, talking to their colleagues, to their friends about it, and it just kind of like spread around, which takes longer than, of course, like paid marketing, and if you put a lot of money in it and if you like push it, but it was so much more sustainable also at the same time. So could you also attribute this to your sales, like to understand, okay, these people that heard it through word of mouth, could you also attribute that? Or we could attribute, I mean, you know, I didn't have any idea about e-commerce or like attribution, so to say, at all in the beginning. But then as we grew, you know, at some point we also thought about attribution, and we did questionnaires, we did surveys, and actually we had it so far that at the end of every order, we asked the customers, like, how did you hear from us, right?
Okay.
And that was amazing. And we just have like 100 thousands of data sets. And it's so cool. And even people, they're sharing their personal stories, why they use us, why they're so excited to, just have discovered us. So it was super emotional as well. It was very nice.
At which point, you mentioned you started with JTL, and I find it also interesting for founders that are starting somewhere. They're typically starting with a standardized solution so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
So at some point, you switched from JTL to Shopify. When was this switch, and why did you decide for this?
It was so funny because my now CTO, he was always so like tight on the budget, and he was too greedy for Shopify, you know. We were like, no, we're not giving them any money of our sales. Let's start with a free version. And that was so cool. That's why we basically went for JTL also, because like you say, it's a plug and play use. And that was very good. But then at some point, you know, we just needed more analysis, better reviews, better options for somebody who's the non-CTO to edit the website and edit the products. And Shopify has always been very good, very user-friendly. And so when we were actually making lots of sales, lots of orders, we decided, okay, now it's time to move to a really professional setup. And that's also very good on the mobile. Because we were mobile first for forever, basically. So that's when we did it. It was in 2018.
And how about competition? At first, maybe you might have had a sweet spot beginning. You mentioned there were some US-based competitors potentially, but they were far away and probably had a different focus. Along the years, did you see new emerging competitors, and how did you deal with that?
Oh yeah, totally. That's such a good question. So at first, I actually found this blue ocean in Europe, right? Because I was the first one who promoted the nail wraps as a product that replaces the nail polish. Because there have been some nail stickers before, but you know, people knew, okay, they're like cheap products, they don't last very long, so I had to get rid of this image. But I also promoted the products differently, as I said, like as an alternative to your nail polish. And I was the first one to do that, like this. And of course, it's like always, right? When you're successful, I mean, it's not gonna not happen, right? That you get copied. And the first copycat, I remember, I couldn't sleep at night. I took it personal, and she also copied my story. I was like, how dare you? You're not. I was like, well, you had the idea when you went abroad. I don't think so, right? So It's crazy. People are so mean, but it's okay, you know? It's taught me a lot. And
how do you deal with this?
It was tough back then. It was tough. But, you know, I mean, as I said before, I had many friends in the startup industry, and it's so common to get copied. Everybody had this issue. Everybody who was successful had this issue. And I think you just get over it. And at this point, I also learned, okay, that's what lawyers are for. That's what, like you don't have to be on top of everything. You don't have to, not deal with anything, not deal with everything at the same time. So, but it was a process. It took a while. Yeah. It took a while.
And about the development, we've talked about the very beginning, but then what were the other stages where you saw like significant spikes? Maybe you've adjusted your strategy, where you've seen like, wow, that's a milestone that helped us grow, scale the business. Do you have some milestones that you can mention?
Totally. So at the beginning, you know, I tried every single thing. Like we went to every trade show, we've set up like nail bars at every event in Berlin. I tried retail, we tried Amazon, we worked with so many partners, you know, and also the D2C shop. But I was like, oh, this is all just like so tough. I really wanted to find the one sustainable sales channel that we could just scale the business on, basically. So but that was challenging, and it sounds so easy, but it was tough, and it took me like 4 years or so. And the biggest milestone was, or one of the biggest milestones was when Facebook actually approached us and asked us if we wanted to be part of their high potential program. That was very cool because this was 2017. So not that many people were doing advertisement on Facebook. It was all fairly new.
But you were already actively investing
we
money
were
in there.
investing a little bit, but like maybe like 10,000 a month or so. So still very little budget. But they were like crawling along the companies and found us and spoke to us. And this program, I was like, of course, because I took every chance that we could get. And was just trying out like everything. And so when we were part of the program, we got like really good one-to-one mentoring plus additional budgets, right? And like new chances to be involved and getting all the newest features and stuff from Facebook. So that was very good. And on the same side, we noticed that TV has a major power. So we were.
When was your first TV appearance?
That was in 2018, and we were very lucky actually because, as I mentioned before, like we used any chance to get visibility, and so we were part of this trade show. It's called Glow. It's a beauty convention. It used to be a really big beauty convention in Germany, Glow by DM, and we had basically a huge stand there. And people were going crazy. They were coming to us. It was so cool. And then also ProSieben saw that, right?
Yeah.
And so they came to us. They made a little story about myself. We went to my apartment and did some more shooting there. It was really cool. And then the TV appearance was live. It was 1.5 minutes. And our whole warehouse that was supposed to be lasting for months, it was just empty. It was so crazy. It was like everything sold out so fast. I even felt so bad because we were overselling some products that we didn't have enough stock of. And people were like ordering a red design, but we
selling
didn't have...
the invisible.
Exactly. We didn't have like enough reds. And so I remember we sent them like a black one and I wrote them a note. I was like, I know this is not the color you ordered, but after this TV appearance,
so crazy.
It was crazy. I'm sorry. I hope you like the black one as well. But people were okay with it.
They were super cool with it.
Yes. They were fine with it.
Oh.
But that was wild. And that was when I noticed, okay, TV is just this major superpower. And we have to get more TV coverage, right? Because we saw huge spikes in sales. And it was so good for the brand, so much authenticity goes into the brand when you're on TV. Like people approach you and are like, I saw you on TV and like treating you like a goddess or something, right? And I'm like, it's okay. I was just like filming with them, but it's TV, right? It just makes you so much more.
It's kind of unreachable. It's
exactly.
TV, like,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so when we actually combine these two things, like performance marketing with the TV appearances, we noticed, okay, now we can scale it, right?
And some physical events you mentioned as well.
Some physical events at first, right? But like on the online marketing side, it was really the TV.
Yeah.
Because we noticed our products, you have to explain them, you have to show them. It's really like people are a little skeptical to try them at first. They're like, oh, can I do this? But when we show them, and video is great for this. Plus, you can spread it then through social media with the performance marketing. That was kind of the jackpot combination.
Sophie, we have one thing in common with TV. That's we also have cameras. So show us your product. I think you might even have. So I'm also curious. I'm seeing it for the first time in real life. So those, maybe you show it to the camera. So
So I have to, maybe I can
walk
explain
us
a little bit. Yes. Yeah. So these are UV gel wraps. They're kind of new. We actually developed a new product line about a couple months ago. We have, because there's UV polish and there's regular nail polish. So the
I
UV...
didn't know, but yeah. My wife probably knows that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So the regular nail polish, you can just apply and let it dry. The UV one, you have to like put it under a UV lamp.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, you've seen that in the studios, and Yeah, so these ones, you can apply like the regular nail wraps, but you have to put them under the lamp to make them hard and last longer. And they also feel a little bit different than the regular ones. They feel a little more thicker, more like gel feeling. So
I remember my sister-in-law saying like they last longer. I don't know if this is true.
Yeah, they last about the same time. It's really just about the look and feel, and and every person has their different taste, their different preferences. Some prefer the regular ones, some prefer the UV gel wraps. So it's funny. It's always funny, like when I explain the product to men, because like women are always like, yeah, of course,
completely oblivious.
yes, but of course, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's super interesting, and thanks for bringing that with you.
Yes.
I think it always helps, like having something tangible, like that you can touch and take a look at.
Totally.
So you going back to your point, like performance marketing wise, you've been upgraded to this special program at Meta, back then Facebook. That was about 2018, you said?
Yeah, exactly.
And then did you, I guess even today you're still investing at Meta.
Exactly.
Maybe can you tell us a little bit about how your performance marketing mix looks like today? Do you have additional platforms like, I don't know, Pinterest, for example? Or how's it looking?
Yeah, of course. The biggest channel is still Facebook for us, Meta. Instagram is also super important, Influencers are always like an additional push. They're not our main focus, I would say, but they're always very nice, and also in building the brand, and building trust in the brand. It's always helpful to have some ambassadors speak about the product. Pinterest, we have tried actually, and we were really excited, and we had high expectations, but they weren't met. So that was kind of disappointing, I have to say. Because
when was this?
This was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it might have changed now, but what we realized was, maybe people just are on Pinterest to be inspired, but not for shopping. They didn't convert at all. We had like crazy views, and people were looking at the content because you would think, right, it's your nails, it's something to look at. Yeah. We have super nice visuals, but
they have reported some really tremendous growth stats in their early yearly earnings report, Q1. And they have a variety of new shopping functions that in the lower funnel, so that you can also maybe take a look at them, because this whole happened within the last 2 years. So it might be worthwhile to take a look at it again.
Okay. Yeah, and we made similar experiences with TikTok, actually. Yeah. So because the content needs to be like so good, right? Super profesh. Because the benchmark is so high on TikTok. But yeah, we noticed the same. It's hard to convert them right on the platform. So
it might change in the near future because of the emerging TikTok shop, for example. In a recent episode, we also touched upon this topic of TikTok shop. How this is going to help in the lower funnel to the live feeds, for example, actually influencers talking about a certain collection of products, and you can just pretty much convert, click on it. You mentioned yourself, it's super important to explain what the product can do, or how you can benefit from that. And this is pretty much what's been happening with live shopping since Corona, with many brands like, I don't know, even Chibo or Höfner Möbel, the companies are tapping into this. And the experience shows that if you're an expert of the product, which from QVC and other teleshopping platforms, people like to see expertise and they want to understand, and then they're convinced. Yeah. And they have a little bit of a fear of missing out. Hey, within this feed, it's 20% cheaper. There's also that element. So I think some things will change in German e-commerce. TikTok did an experiment. I think it was 2022. They tried in Europe. They did some tests for live shopping. I guess the consumers weren't ready, because the Asian market is so much far ahead than Germany, for example. But things seem to be changing a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. As you said, we're selling on QVC actually, because the product is perfect for this version, right, of the sales channel. It needs to be presented, and it's on a video format. So QVC works very well. Also, we have some super successful corporations like West Wing, shopping clubs, Limango, or even, the common beauty retailers like Flaconi, Douglas, Parfum Dreams, Haar Shop. It's just very
also
important.
Drugstores, DM and Rossmann. And
we tried, we had a test run with DM a couple of years ago. It was in 2017, which was very big for us as a brand. And it gave the brand a huge push because, you're at DM. So wow, that means something, right? But we weren't, I think the brand was just not strong enough back then. So the test was not, so successful for like permanent listing there. And I had to make a choice back then. Like, do I focus on the retail market and go fully into B2B? Or do I focus on online marketing, right? And D2C. And I think I made the right choice because we were just one of the most successful D2C brands of Berlin at that time.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess this is the trick, right? So doing the right thing or placing the right focus in the right channel, you might waste energy, resources, and money doing the wrong thing. And I guess it's important as a founder and like a chief executive to pivot also, realize, hey, we did a test, didn't seem to work out, so we move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
This seems to be a recurring theme, especially in your success story.
Exactly. And it's hard to admit, right? When you're trying and you're trying and you're trying. I remember the first years, they were so tough and so draining because like I didn't pay myself a salary until 2018. So for the first 4 years, I didn't get any money out of the company, and it was crazy. And even now, me speaking about that, like it sounds so crazy, and it was really hard at that time. I was just always hoping for this turning point, and basically just working on my mission. And it was fine back then, but the times were hard, and now it's so easy, and people look at me and they're like, oh, it's such a nice story. It was so easy, I'm sure, right? But it was super hard. I always have to say.
Sophie, did you ever have a moment where you want to, or maybe moments where you want to give up? You said like maybe you lost confidence that in these 4 years where you're not even paying yourself a salary, probably I read in my notes that even you lived in a very small apartment, like running operations from there partially. So
exactly.
Did you ever have this feeling of like losing hope that it's not going to work out?
Oh, yeah, I did. And many times I have to say, but it was always like the situation where we had recurring customers, and we had people that were so happy with the products. And I thought, this product is a mass product. I just have to find the right sales channel, right? Yeah. This is my biggest mission. And that was my motivation all along, I really have to say. But I did have these moments, of course, because like imagine you're sitting there in your 1-bedroom apartment, getting the email from DM, the test has not been successful. You have to pull out of all the stores. And it was like, I don't know, 2 weeks before Christmas. And I was like, oh, so this new channel that we hoped so much for didn't work again, right?
Yeah.
But, I was always like I never did like anything crazy also, after I had a rough day or a rough phase, I went to bed early and had a cup of tea maybe before that, and then had a good night of sleep. And then the next day I was like, okay, let's tackle this. Let's get back on track and see where we can get with this business. And it was so cool because a couple of days later, after this email from DM, I got the email from Facebook, right, regarding the so it was almost like the universe was just telling me like, okay, focus on the online marketing. It was so funny. And but there were these moments. And also, I was studying business administration. I had so many friends, they went into the Big Four, or they did they were working at McKinsey, getting all these great salaries and having good jobs, working like crazy. And I was like, well, I work even more, I feel like, but I just don't get any salary at all. So this is kind of crazy. But, it was always the returning customers and the current feedback of the customers that kept me going really throughout the whole time.
What made them so loyal to your brand?
I think it was a combination. So first of all, they really love the product. The product has to be high quality and you have to have the best, of course. Yeah. And the second thing I think was the really personal touch to the brand. So really me being basically at every touch point they can have throughout the whole shopping experience. And also, yeah, we have this Wert von Frau zu Frau, so like from women to women. And I think it just really, made the difference. And they felt they were always working with this super small startup, or they were always buying from the super small startup and supporting female founders. So I think that was a combination.
What I also see, we've talked about this during the expo as well in February. One of the trends we're seeing is really moving towards communities in e-commerce, not just having same looking e-commerce websites that have 2,500 products, but rather really having a sense of community, sense of belonging, sense of trust. And really what you say definitely resonates with that statement, because we are seeing that we have reached a point in German e-commerce where it's all about efficiencies these days. It's about really ramping up the game because consumer behavior is kind of like recovering, but since we have had all kinds of crises, it's Corona, which gave a spike, of course, then inflation crisis, then Ukraine war and all these things, and now like you see a recovery, but a slow recovery. And I think that listening to you, investing in this community, and especially from the angle of a female founder, seems to have done a strong contribution.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like the personal touch, for the customers, because like people want to buy from people, right? Yeah. And that really made the difference, I think. So even I was actually making a LinkedIn post about this the other day, that we put a handwritten note into every order for like the first 3 or 4 years, and so it was either me or my colleague / friend writing these notes, and it was so much work, of course, and so much time. And at that time, you would think, okay, does it make sense that I'm like writing these notes after notes after notes, for every order, because
Are they always unique, or?
They were always unique. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we had, of course, or like standard templates texts. Yeah. But we were handwriting them. So it was a lot of work. But that was what all the customers said in their reviews. They're like, wow, I opened the package and I saw the note and it just made such a difference. Yeah. And I think it's so cool. I mean, of course, when we scaled and when we had, like thousands of orders, you cannot do this anymore. Yeah. Unfortunately, but I think it really made the difference in the beginning.
Yeah. That's so interesting. That there's some magic in unboxing, right?
Exactly.
So, as an Apple fanboy, every time I buy an Apple product, I'm also like quite impressed about even like the feeling of the package and how it feels to open it for the first time. It has something.
Exactly, it's the magic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot of ground to cover, but then let's fast forward to today. And what I like about this interview is that I've had several founders in this podcast. That we had Kitchen Stories, very similar, where Mengting, the founder of Kitchen Story, was telling us we were so small, no one believed in us, and now we have like 25 million app downloads on iOS. And even Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, was in Kreuzberg visiting their kitchen, cooking with them. It's like,
that's really cool.
It's incredible.
Yes.
And you mentioning all your friends at McKinsey and these consultation companies, they're making good salaries, and then you're really grinding, but believing in the
exactly
long-term like delayed gratification, right? So
exactly, yeah,
it's incredible. Now today, you've made your successful exit. Even tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we were at a really good point a couple of years ago, and I thought, okay, maybe let's have a look at it, right? At that time, I did have a co-CEO because I was thinking, okay, it's just, it's a lot of work, right? When you scale so fast, and we just grew so fast, so we had to also grew the structure of the company, like hiring more people, building new departments.
How many employees do you have?
Actually, right now we're a little less, but we were always around 15 or so.
Okay.
But as one of the few e-commerce startups, we had our very own logistics in Berlin-Spandau. Because my CTO, he is so hands-on, and he was actually programming the warehouse program, which is so cool because, we have like small products, but a lot of picks, so to say, like when you work in fulfillment, right? There's a lot of pickings, but the products are so small, so they take only a few place to store, right? Like a few storage space. And so we were able to, have this whole huge logistics for us on only 300 square meters. It was totally cool. And in the high times, like Black Friday, Christmas also, we had, like a morning shift, a night shift. And it was crazy. We were just like processing and processing and processing. So that was, very unique for us as an e-commerce startup. But it was also, a lot of weight on my shoulders because I didn't have any investors involved. So I was owning the company for 100%. I was the only shareholder. And I thought, bootstrapped, exactly. So this is like one of the advantages, right, of bootstrap that, makes it a lot easier when you're exiting. But I thought, like maybe the time has come, right, for me to look for a new partner to take on this opportunity, because I felt we kind of reached a limit, at this point where we could grow as a company with the setup we had and with the expertise we had in the team. Plus also on the private side, I have to say I got married. I got pregnant with my first kid, and I mean, when you just have children, it's the best thing in the world. But your priorities kind of shift a little bit because all of a sudden you have a little human that you need to take care of. And I actually felt kind of overwhelmed with the situation because I had the little baby. She was super cute, super easygoing. But also the first baby, right? The company, so Miss Sophie. And I thought, this is just too much to take care of from one person. Like that's my personal.
You needed a babysitter for one of your babies.
Exactly. So my co-CEO back then, he has also sold many companies. He was the prior CEO from Glossybox. So he's been in the beauty industry, and he was saying, okay, you know what? Let's start the process. Let's see and get a good feeling for the market out there for. Like evaluation, right? What we can reach and what we can do, what partners we're gonna find. And this M&A process has taught me so much. It was quite intense. I mean, M&A processes usually are, but it was super interesting. I learned so much.
Doing due diligence and all these things.
Exactly. It was wild, like, right? And they are working 24/7, these lawyers, and it's crazy. But we found an amazing partner. I'm so happy. It's the Wilde Group. It's a German company, and they're also in the nail industry. So they see the potential of the brand and the product, which was so important for me because we also spoke to many like financial investors and so, but we never could get any expertise from them, right? Like they would have given me a good share of money, and that would have been it. But I really wanted to...
There's the sentimental part.
Exactly, because I wanted to make sure the company is really in good hands, right? Like I really had a personal touch to it, of course. So that was my ambition, to find a good partner. And I'm so happy we did. And we found a great deal that both sides are super happy with. And so that was the decision to sell the company 2 years ago.
Yeah, incredible. And now you're, how's your involvement with the company now?
Yeah. So my condition with the exit was also, I really want to work a little bit less. So I want to work a little bit less time-wise and also task-wise. So I stepped down from the managing director, so I'm not in the Geschäftsführung anymore. But I still fulfill the role as a CEO because I work as the face of the company.
Okay.
I'm now in charge of product, PR, and performance marketing, supporting on the supportive side. So all the topics that I really can contribute most of the value to.
Yeah.
And it's great because finally now I have the time.
So you kept the title as co-CEO.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I kept the title because it's always like how you define it, right?
Yeah.
But we thought it makes just most sense because I'm still also involved in all the other topics,
Yeah.
but they're not on my lead, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. So they're taking care of logistics, finances, personnel. What else? Einkauf, supplying, retail, like many parts.
Wow.
And before the exit, I really never had time to do lots of PR or like took so much time for developing the product further because you had all these other departments, right?
Yeah.
That took so much focus. And ever since the exit, I really have time. And now we can even speak. We
owe it to the exit that you have time for us today.
Exactly.
Very nice. What I'm also curious about, usually I try not to depict the story only from the positive side. So I already asked you whether or not you've had like moments where you were desperate or you've lost faith, but also like maybe you could share what were some of the important mistakes you've made along the way that you recovered from and were teaching moments.
Yes. So one mistake. I mean, yeah, but it's good that I made it because I learned from it, I have to say. So I don't really regret it, I have to say, but because I didn't have any idea of how to run a company, right, at first. So our financials were always kind of behind, right? Because I was working on the marketing and getting the product there and getting the orders out to the people and making sure that we're good on all the legal stuff. Yeah. But yeah, the financial planning lacked a little bit. And that I would do totally different if I would start again. Because, you have to have a good idea of your cash flow all the times, especially when you work with products from abroad, right? We imported all the products, mainly from China. We needed these huge amounts of money up front in order to get all the goods to our warehouse. And it always hit me by surprise. And then I was like, okay, wow, now we need like 200,000 euros tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay, well, so, that was quite the journey and also super adventurous. And I will never forget, like, even my grandma, one time, she had to lend me her money, which she was saving for her funeral, because that is so cool. Like, she gave it to me. She's like, yeah, of course, I'm not going to die tomorrow, Like, I was like, okay.
She wasn't allowed to die for a few days, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really, really cool, actually. And also, I remember one time my stepdad, I was driving around to all of his cash machines where he had a bank account, and we got all the money we could from his dispo, like really high interest rates. But he was just like, yeah, I'm supporting you. Of course, you need the money tomorrow and it's fine. And so I was like scratching up all the money to get it together. Wow. And it was very, very cool. And yeah, my family has always been like super supportive. They've done so many things. It was so funny. Even when we had the cooperation with DM, you have like this display and you have all the products, but you need to do all the commissioning of the goods, right? So you need to like count the goods, and like my family did all of that. Like it was so nice. They just came in like on the weekend, and we did it as a family activity. So to say.
It took a village to raise Miss Sophie.
Exactly. Yeah, it really did. Yeah, and wow. I mean now it's also so cool for them to see how it all turned out and where the company has grown to. And yeah, I think it's super cool because they were so involved during all the phases. So yeah, it's really been fun.
I also want to end up. I could talk with you for hours, I feel, but I want to end up on a note where you, as a founder, successful founder, who from student to millionaire, so to speak, made it. And what are your top 3 tips for any founder out there? It could be also female founders. It's up to you how to approach it. But do you have like top 3 tips for anyone to pay attention to?
Yes. So the first one is passion, I would have to say, because you really have to be passionate about what you're doing. You really have to have the drive and the belief in the product. And yeah, if you're not convinced, it's going to work, then how would anybody else be convinced?
Yeah.
That's really so important. The second one I would say is focus. You really need to focus on your task and don't get distracted. Don't act like in a reactive kind of way. Like, know your strategy, know what you want to do, and then be proactive towards this. But don't get distracted, because as we were like building up the brand, we get so many requests from all the sides, and I was always like, oh, well, this is so cool. But then I was like, no, let's refocus, right? Like, what was I actually doing? I didn't like turn off the emails, turn off all the notifications, and just really work on your strategy. That's super important. I learned that way too late, so to say. But it's okay. It was part of the process. And my number 3 would be to never give up, because it's so hard and times are like, excuse my language, but they're going to be shitty. They're going to be so rough, and they're going to be extremely hard. You cannot sleep for so many nights. It's going to be, probably the hardest thing you've ever done. I feel like it's a lot harder than having kids, raising kids, because you have actually so many people that are relying on you, right? Even if it's the customers or the employees or the partners. And so, you just really, really have to be strong, and never give up. That was my lesson. Like, along the first 4 years, I always pushed through and was hoping for the best, and it turned out great. But it's
incredible. As you're speaking, I'm getting goosebumps here, because I can totally relate to it, because what makes you also visionary, and what's the secret sauce behind your success, is that you believe in something that other people don't even see, that doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
Right? So of course there will be moments where you're challenged, and that this is excellent advice for anyone out there. Sophie, thank you so much for being part of this format. We really enjoyed having you part of our show. And I hope our listeners and viewers will also enjoy this as much as I did. And see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the EGN Podcast. If you found our discussion insightful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your support helps us grow and improve our content. See you next time.